I believe that the hardest part of having schizophrenia, or a similarly related illness, is when someone asks you the seemingly simple question, what's it like then? The first thing that always goes through my head is, oh no, not this again. Quickly followed by the afterthought of, well, at least they haven't freaked out on me. During this 4-second thought process, they normally misinterpret my slightly blank facial expression of worry and swift contemplation for anger or even insult. They move slightly backwards in their chair, raising their hands as if they're disarming a bomb. I would normally say something along the lines of, if you don't want to talk about this, or it's making you feel uncomfortable, don't worry about it, we can talk about something else. Try as I might, those few seconds inevitably seem to occur. Trust me, I have tried to hold an expressionless face, but then I think you can come across as if schizophrenia is a completely standard normal thing, giving the person asking the question the impression that you think they're damn ignorant. This can unnerve people even more, so you're a bit damned if you do, and damned if you don't. But at this point, I tend to lend a smile and come out with something along the lines of, it's not a problem at all, and don't worry about it. I'm not like the schizos you see running around with axes on TV, kicking down doors and murdering the innocent. I'm not insane. Ending on a little calm laugh. Hopefully, after a quick pause, they relax. And in the majority of these occasions they do. However, now you're over the first hurdle, when many seem to think you are a bomb ready to explode, you are now faced with the difficult problem of explaining something that is not only extremely personal, but scary or even terrifying because it's so confusing to you, let alone anyone else. Back to the question. So, what's it like? My first action is to make it very clear that schizophrenia is not how Hollywood decided to present it to the world, and that general stigma ingrained in people is not a correct representation of the facts. From this point, I explain the situation of seeing things and not knowing if they're real, hearing things and voices, the emotional isolation and sometimes manic episodes of productivity, ending on a quick discussion on the constant medication I am taking and enduring. My answer normally depends on the person who's asking the questions. Once to a friend, who happened to be a website designer as a career, I explained the situation as, it's sort of like when the pop-up blocker on your computer is not working, and random unexpected websites just pop out of the blue, frustrating your efforts to find what you're actually looking for. Imagine your brain is the search engine, and then bang, random sites appear for random things, or sometimes things actually related to what you searched for, and they jump to the front, leaving you a bit confused for a couple of seconds whilst you sort it all out. For another friend, who happens to enjoy throwing himself out of a plane with only a bit of fabric in the form of a parachute to prevent him from causing a large mess on the ground 10,000 feet below him, i.e. someone who I think is more nuts than me, I suggested it's like extreme daydreaming, where the boundaries of reality are mixed in your real world. You can sometimes end up in the grey. You can change quickly, and the symptoms are as varied as any other illness. It can come on slowly over weeks and months. The image in front of your eyes could be walking down the street, which you're actually doing, but then you could be put in a type of flux to wherever your subconscious takes you. It can even comment on what you're actually doing in your real life and try and get involved in what you're doing. I don't know if these are the best explanations, but they seem to do the trick. Different people have different opinions of their own minds and others. Sometimes it's easier to design a response in advance for that particular moment, although life is never that simple, and often you can be put on the spot. And remember, sometimes it is okay to tell someone politely to fuck off and mind their own business. The annoying thing is you can't be angry with these people. Many of them are close friends and family who I love or admire dearly. I don't go throwing my diagnosis around just anyone. They have to be close to me, or some form of medical professional, although I definitely don't tell them everything. I believe it's a great thing that people ask and try, no matter how much, to understand what schizophrenia is, rather than just running away, although some people do, or thinking they should call up the nearest mental health clinic and try and have you sectioned for your own good and protection. In our modern, apparently diverse and understanding Western culture, the illness is seen as human chaos incarnate, a ticking time bomb on legs, walking complication, or as a dangerous unpredictability, which is a threat to the neatly bounded society in which we are a part. The mistrust is deeply entrenched, and in the modern world, we are more monitored and pressured than ever before to deliver and stand to a certain example of a modern Western human being. We are expected to be happier, more realistic, much more productive, more understanding of others, more respectful, and regardless what modern sociology tells you, more stressed and boxed in by boundaries of what is acceptable and what is not. Having something that radically changes your perspective on the real actuality of the world as part of the makeup of your mind could be an extreme challenge, but in some ways and cases a blessing. If I was born 500 years earlier, perhaps I would be more comfortable as a warrior unleashing all my anger on the tangible and identifiable enemy, i.e. the man opposite me on the battlefield, or just plain insane and act the fool at a random Tudor court. Although I'm glad that I was not born later than this and sent to the confines and cares of an Edwardian or Victorian asylum, even though up until the 1970s mental health treatment was a realm of design as far as I'm concerned, with torturing the patient in submission into the so-called healer's wishes as much as curing them, a specimen in a jar. Well, after my little coming out story, do you know how you would react to that question? I don't know. As a form of self-therapy, I've decided to set this website, blog, and the rest of the bollocks and podcasts to give a real insight into the mind of someone who's actually living with schizophrenia, without the technological science babble in which mental health professionals seem to compete to see who can win the most incomprehensible terminology competition. I don't know if it will work, but I think it could be worth the risk.